Welcome to Questions Just Ask, a weekly answer to your questions from Chaplain John Ring here with Hope for the Community. As an ordained minister, I study the Word for your questions to answer these questions. And sometimes, hey, I'll admit you won't like my answers because they might not be the same conviction that you have on them. But hey, we're not here to debate them, just here to ask the questions. So, hey, I'm here to answer the questions. Let's get to it today. Questions for today. Is God really in control? If he is, why doesn't he intervene more in disasters and crises? You know, it kind of makes me think of the Jim Carrey movie, Bruce Almighty. That's where God goes on vacation for a week and leaves Jim Carrey in charge, Bruce in charge for a week. And I remember this. He kept on hearing the prayers in his mind. And I remember the one time he decided he was going to answer all the questions yes about winning the lottery. And then the next morning he woke up and there's major chaos at the lottery headquarters because about 3,000 people won the lottery. And everybody, instead of winning $1 million, won $2.36, something like that. We have to. What is that balance between God answering prayer and living in a fallen world? That's a good question. There are often natural consequences or nature that happens. It just does. It just does. If you stand out in the rain in a lightning storm and you hold a golf club up in the air, you might get struck by lightning. Now, could God intervene and not have you struck by lightning if he so desires? But if you want to be stupid enough to do that, I'm not going to say God doesn't say he deserves a little shock. You know, I heard this question a lot when the World Trade Centers were destroyed. Where was God? Well, I like to think that God was there because, first of all, only about 3,000 people, 2,000 to 3,000 people died. They should have been 10,000 to 12,000 people died. So where was God? Keeping many people away. Let's face it, this type of question has man at the center of the universe, not God. It really does. It's like thinking, no, God's at the center because he's in control. No, what you're saying is, I'm at the center. Why doesn't God do something for me? Why doesn't God keep me from getting cancer? And secondly, God doesn't promise an easy path and a pain-free life. Living in a fallen world, there is conflict and pain. There is tragedies. There is crisis. Sometimes evil looks like it's winning in the fallen world. It just does. And thirdly, we are in vain to think that we know the will of God in everything. He's in control. It's not what we think it should be. I ask people, when I pray with people, I said, look forward to Christ answering that prayer, but watch out. He's going to answer it in a way that you're not expecting. It says in Isaiah 55, 8, 9, that his thoughts are not our thoughts and his ways are not our ways. We like to think that we know what God is thinking. We like to think that God should think the way we want to think. You know, often I pray that God keeps hurricanes away from our area because I hate the idea of a hurricane. I hate the idea that I could lose my roof, lose my house. I hate it. But if I'm saying, Lord, keep the hurricane away from me, you know what I'm also praying? Send it to somebody else. The hurricane's going to go somewhere. So let's just make sure that we're not asking this question because we want to be God. Now, where's God in the details? Is God in the little details as much as big? If a hurricane does come, then can I pray that my roof stays on and my house doesn't get destroyed? Sure, I can. Can I pray that the floods don't come and take my house away? Yeah, I can. But what if they do? Is God suddenly lost control? No, he hasn't. He just has a different purpose. This is one problem with connecting salvation with natural disasters. It's almost like as if Jesus is going to fix all your natural disaster woes, which is not true. I run Hope for the Community. We train, resource, and certify, and resource community lay chaplains. I said, you have to watch out using the gospel during a crisis. Doesn't mean your bank account is going to get restored. Doesn't mean your house is suddenly going to get fixed. Doesn't mean your husband's going to come back. Doesn't mean your children are going to be obedient children. Doesn't mean any of that. What it means is now you have someone on your side. And that means it's somebody who will take your case before the Father It means now you have communion with God where you didn't have it before. So, consequences of nature, they happen. He's still in control. And we know what else we don't like? We don't like the idea that this negative consequence is to maybe test me or correct something in my thinking patterns. We don't like that idea either, do we? The working of your faith creates testing. Do you still believe God's there? Do you still think He loves you? Too many people say, "No, I don't believe in God because when I was young." Oh, you're grown up now, and you know that things just happen sometimes. They just do. So hey, He's still in control. Just because He's in control doesn't mean it's going to be an easy path for you. It doesn't mean you're not going to have to face some real trials. Sometimes it doesn't mean bad things are going to happen. They will. The question is, who are you going to depend upon to get you out of the problem? That's the question. All right, next week, another big loaded question. Does the Bible call for sexual purity? If so, what qualifies as pure and impure? Why was it such a problem with certain biblical heroes? Oh, man. Any one of those questions could be enough to answer for a day. So that's what we'll look at next week. Thanks. See you next week.